Aloha, friends and family, and welcome back to the channel. Had a lot of bird action this morning. So we've sort of been establishing on this channel for a while now the proofs and the postulations that there is a great awakening happening in our entire world. And that God and or the Christ is behind this awakening. The Q team has synchronized what they're doing, what we're doing, with this spiritual awakening. So we're having a spiritual and political awakening at the same time. Some people only see the spiritual side of it. Some people only see the political side of it. And then there are those of us that see all sides of it, because again, the more you enter into unity consciousness, the more unified everything becomes, or the more we are able to see the whole, W-H-O-L-E. So when Trump was in office, he and the military, the Q team, went around to all the countries and basically told them, we can have World War III, or we can get rid of the deep state. Which do you want to do? And by that time, Trump already had a good enough alliance put together to be able to say to these people, we already have an alliance that's going to work together. And if you choose World War III, you're going to regret it. And so he went from country to country to country to all the countries, and every country agreed, we're going to clean up the deep state within our countries. So this has been going on now for some years. And oddly enough, America seems to be sort of the last place. Well, since it was the nest of the deep state, the America is going to seemingly get cleaned up last, only because they're allowing this to play out in the mainstream, or let us say collective consciousness, so that everybody saw it with their own eyes. Everybody experienced it together. And we're talking about the real riots that went on, the real damage that was done, the real bioweapon attack that was launched against the world. And it wasn't China that did it, but it was cities in Ukraine whose spellings start with C-Y-N-A. So these sneaky, devious people weren't actually lying by saying China, and I'm not implying Trump did, but these were Ukrainian bioweapons labs in Ukraine. And so Trump and the alliance said to Russia, these people are on your doorstep. They just launched a bioweapon attack. And they, who's they? Let's be clear. The deep state, which headquarters and grew from America, or Washington, D.C. I believe it's so many miles of land right there in D.C. that became America's corporation in the form of government. So that's where all the devious activity was perpetrating from. If you look at Washington now, it's not the same place. It's been fenced off many times, a lot of the time. It's been fenced off. If you look at the IRS headquarters, it's fenced off, and many others. So business as usual in DC is a thing of the past. Because we went into a wartime situation, although it be undeclared, for the sake of continuity of government, the headquarters were moved. And it wasn't just one place, it was multiple places. So everybody's been given the option to come out of the darkness and into the light. And this offer is basically to everybody, but mainly we're talking about the deep state here, the cancer that we're ridding the world of. United, we're doing it unitedly. We have the alliance. Well, the alliance is unknown to the mainstream. If you say alliance to the mainstream or the regular folk, the normies, they're not going to really know what you're talking about. But the alliance is now morphing into something, let us say, more tangible or more mainstream. And that's the BRICS alliance. Notice it's called the alliance. So the BRICS alliance is getting bigger and stronger by the day because it's the replacement for things like the G7 and the what's the other one? I got International Monetary Fund in my head, but that's not what I'm trying to... The one that Klaus Schwab and the gang are in. It's like the G7. Anyway, it's just the financial sector of the deep state. And again, what money do we know powered that whole system? The fake monopoly fiat dollar. The Fed dollar that's backed by nothing. So when the gold was removed from the Vatican and taken back to the U.S. Treasury, our whole money system is now being shifted back to the original way that it was, where money was backed by gold, silver, precious metals, what have you, commodities. So all that now is being shifted out of the Federal Reserve, which has nothing to do with our actual country. And it's all going to come back, and already has come back, into the Treasury. So the digital money that's coming, for the sake of simplifying the moving of money. That's really all this is about. But at the same time, again, we see that this is a coordinated awakening. It's covering every level. In other words, there was contingencies for every level of this shift in power, shift in consciousness, shift in politics, permanent shift in politics. It's no longer going to be a two-party system that's constantly standing in opposition to each other. We're now going to have, and there could still be two parties potentially, but I'm just saying everybody's going to be unified more now. We're going to use the government and the tools of the government the way that they were meant to be used, and not abused the way that they have been for the last 100 years or more. So I would imagine as the mainstream exposure finally goes from drips to trickles. We're past drips now, and we're actually past trickles now. We've got full-fledged holes in this dam that are spewing forth water under pressure. So the dam is just about ready to break. And all of this stuff's going to be coming out to the normies. But I suspect as we get deeper and further along, the spiritual aspects of all of this is going to come forward as well. More understanding about duality consciousness. Because again, if you don't understand duality consciousness, you probably don't understand how the deep state operated. See, the deep state was pulling psychological crime. And with that psychological crime, that's why they were able to do all the other heinous stuff that's more on the surface. If you're stealing, you're stealing. That's a very surface thing that's clear. But if you're performing psychological operations against all of man, and you've got all the levers of the machine, the fake news mainly, but you've got Hollywood, you've got the music industry, you've got advertisement people, you've got everybody that's in the mainstream or the collective consciousness pulling psychological operations against you every second of the day, everywhere you look in the matrix. So there needs to be a foundational understanding of duality consciousness and how that works to make the transition to unity consciousness easier and more understandable. Because you don't just change consciousness. You don't just change density. There's a verse in the Bible. You can't put new wine into old wineskins. And that verse bears out what I'm talking about here, where in order to elevate human consciousness into a higher density, it can't be instantaneous, or you will burst the wineskin, which is a way of saying you'll burst your psyche. So that's why in between each density of consciousness, there's a buffer zone that I call the bridge, or what it actually is, stairway, a spiral staircase up through your chakras and into a higher density. And for the level that humans are at right now on this particular planet, Earth, we're going from 3 to 5. And the buffer zone is your 7 chakras that are with what we think of as within the body. There's 4 more outside the body, making 12. And think of all the 12s. Zodiac, apostles, or disciples, months of the year. So we see this 12, the significance of the 12 repeated in all these layers, right? So I'm now realizing then, okay, if there's a buffer zone between each density of consciousness, once we're moving from 5th to 7th, the buffer zone will be the 4 chakras outside of the body. So we will have complete 12 chakra activation by the time we're in 7th density. Also known as the number of completion. So there's a completion to 7th density, or 12 chakra activation. But I'm ahead of us with that. We're still back here at moving from 3rd density to 5th. And this, what I'm getting at with all of this, is that this is just as much a part of this awakening as the political part is. But people right now are mainly tuned in to the political part of it because it's the most, readily, it's affecting us more than anything else, or it seems to be anyway. I think it's all affecting us, but so we're right here because this, you can see by the day, the alliance is growing by the day. Exposures happening more and more and more every day. And we've got a unified front that is in the process right now of draining the final remnants of the swamp. I assume most of you guys probably know most of this or suspect most of this. But the movies, remember when I had talked about in the past when the EBS happens, or if it happens, everybody would basically be at home, everything would be turned off except your phones, and they would satellite documentaries to people's phones that are going to disclose all of this in great detail. Well, those disclosure movies are happening already. So the disclosure part is we're already in that phase. We didn't have to go the EBS route because the deep state didn't create enough chaos for that to be needed. Because we're winning. Even though there's a lot of people that still can't see it and don't understand it. Soon they will. So it's a beautiful, beautiful master plan. And I'm telling you, God is actually behind it all. for sure. But the Alliance coordinated what we're doing and what they've already done with this God movement, or this awakening movement are happening. If you still have not seen the movie or the documentary called The Greatest Show on Earth, go watch it right now. Drop everything you're doing and go watch it, because it's going to give you all the details of what I'm talking about right now, and much more, because it's going to be very detailed and evidence-based. The Greatest Show on Earth. It's a new documentary, so you shouldn't have trouble finding it. I can't remember. It's on Rumble. That's where I saw it. So I'm sure you can find it if you look for it. If anybody wants, I guess I could post the link to it in the comments. So if anybody wants me to do that, just let me know and I'll do it. But that's it, my friends. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. And we're at a good place. It's a paradox, right? To know that we're in a great, wonderful place, but still feel like we're getting covered in filth by the clown show every day. It's quite the paradox. But the understanding is illuminating all of this. And like I said, the unity, when everything finally does get unified, we'll be able to see and understand the whole of it all. The WHOLE. The whole of it all. Everything will make sense. And everything will be healed. That's when everything's going to get healed. When everybody knows the same truth and we're all on the same page with that truth. So we leave you in the love, unity, and light of the infinite Creator. Until we meet again, my beautiful friends and family.